The clock struck midnight, and the air in the banquet hall carried the sharp scent of spilled wine and cold roast beef. Crystal glasses clinked, forks scraped, and laughter echoed under the dim chandelier. I sat frozen, staring at the man who had just walked through the tall oak doors, my stepfather, Frank. His sudden return was enough to draw every eye in the room. His voice cut through the noise like shattered glass. "She's nothing but a burden." The words struck harder than any slap. My cheeks burned as whispers rippled across the tables, neighbors and relatives trading looks that felt like knives. My own mother sat still beside me, lips pressed together, not a word leaving her mouth. I gripped the edge of my chair, pulse thundering in my ears. Would I stay silent yet again, or was tonight the moment everything changed? Frank hadn't always been this way. When I was 12, Mom remarried him, and for a short while, our small home felt louder, almost joyful. He told big stories at the dinner table, slapped neighbors on the back, and carried himself like a man the world respected, but behind closed doors, he was different. He laughed at my school dreams, mocked my handwriting, and once sneered, "College isn't for girls like you." Every word chipped away at me. Mom never corrected him. Her silence was worse than his insults, and over the years, I learned to swallow my pride and stay quiet. Still, I worked. I studied late into the night at the library when he thought I was asleep. I took on small jobs, saved every dollar, and promised myself I would never live under his shadow forever. Now, as he stood in the banquet hall with that smug grin, I could see the same arrogance I had endured for years. The crowd's murmurs swelled, waiting for my response. But I stayed seated, calm, eyes locked on him, because what Frank, and everyone else, didn't know was that I had built something far greater than the life he tried to steal from me, and tonight, it was going to come to light. Frank stepped further into the banquet hall, his heavy shoes thudding against the polished wooden floor. Conversations fell into uneasy silence, broken only by the faint clatter of silverware. He raised his glass as if he owned the night. "Look at her," he jeered, pointing straight at me. "Living off scraps, pretending she's worth something. Without me, she'd have nothing." A few relatives chuckled nervously, others looked away. My throat tightened, but I forced my face to remain calm. Inside, my pulse hammered. I could feel eyes on me, pitying, judgmental, curious. My mother kept her gaze fixed on the table, her silence louder than his cruelty. I stood slowly, smoothing my blue dress with deliberate care. My chair scraped against the floor, the sound sharp enough to cut through his gloating. Every head turned. "Frank," I said softly, my voice steady despite the storm inside me, "are you done?" His smirk widened. "Not yet. Everyone here deserves to know the truth. She's nothing. No career. No respect. A child who should be grateful I ever gave her a roof." Gasps rippled through the hall. I saw Margaret, an old family friend, press a hand to her mouth. The tension grew so thick it seemed to hang in the air. I let his words hang, then took a single step closer, meeting his eyes without flinching. A faint smile tugged at my lips, because I knew, in just moments, the truth would leave this entire hall frozen. The hall seemed to hold its breath. I reached into my clutch and unfolded a sleek, embossed letter, the kind no one mistook for anything ordinary. The golden seal glimmered under the chandelier's light. "Nothing, you say?" I spoke clearly, letting each word echo. "Then explain why the United States Air Force entrusted me with this." Gasps filled the room as I laid the letter flat on the banquet table. The bold print was impossible to miss. Captain Shirley Adams, Distinguished Service Award. Frank's face drained of color. His jaw trembled, but no sound escaped. I continued, my voice calm but firm. "While you mocked me for dreaming, I was flying missions overseas. While you sneered at my future, I was earning commendations that men twice your stature couldn't touch. And tonight, I was asked to accept this award before my family." The crowd fell utterly silent. Chairs creaked as people leaned forward, eyes wide. Margaret clasped her hands together, whispering, "Dear Lord." Frank's wine glass slipped from his fingers and shattered on the floor. His mouth opened, but only a hollow breath came out. He looked around, desperate for someone, anyone, to support him. But the room had shifted. Respect no longer belonged to him. All at once, the banquet hall erupted in applause. The thunder of hands clapping, the murmurs of "Captain Shirley" rolled over him like a tidal wave, and in that moment, Frank was no longer the man towering over me. He was the one cornered, small, stripped of every ounce of false pride. Frank stood frozen, pale as the broken glass at his feet. The banquet hall's applause thundered around him, drowning his once booming voice. For years, he had belittled me, claimed every ounce of dignity as his own, but tonight, the crowd saw him for what he truly was, a coward hiding behind arrogance. I gathered the award letter and straightened my shoulders. The respect in the room wasn't silent anymore, it pulsed in every nod, every gaze fixed on me with new regard. People who once whispered pity now whispered pride. I turned toward my mother. She still sat rigid, hands clasped, lips trembling. For a moment, her eyes met mine. No words passed between us, but for once, she couldn't look away. I walked past Frank without hesitation. His shoulders hunched, his head low, as though shrinking under the weight of his own downfall. The man who once called me nothing couldn't even meet my gaze. At the hall's exit, I paused, letting the applause wash over me one final time. I hadn't raised my voice, hadn't needed anger or revenge. Truth had been enough, because dignity doesn't shout. It stands tall, and it wins.